Hello there, Grateful Gang. Happy Thursday. It is March 25th. Thank you for being here for Gratefully Living the Chronic Life. My name is Lauren Blanchard-Zaleski, and I come to you with this broadcast every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And each week we talk about a different topic pertaining to living with chronic conditions, I say. But honestly, most of our weeks, the topics that we have and the guests that we have on the show really can apply to anybody who struggles in their life, which I think is just about everybody. So welcome. If it's your first time here, we are so happy to have you. We're an interactive show. So that means if you comment, where's my comments? If you comment, we try to, or ask a question, we try to have it on the screen. So here, like I'll sometimes put group questions on like this. Look at this little ticker. Say hi and tell me where you're watching from. We really like for our members to feel like they're a part of the broadcast. So, depending on where the conversation goes with the guest, I can get comments on sometimes, and sometimes it's a little bit more difficult, but welcome. If you are watching from inside of my Facebook group, Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain, because it is a closed group, you need to give StreamYard, which is the program you're watching through and the program I'm broadcasting through, you need to give them permission to use your name and likeness. If you ask a question, I put on the screen. If you don't give them permission as you log in, you will just show up as Facebook user. And maybe you're fine with that. But if you'd like, your name to be up there, if you can log out and log back in, that would be fantastic. We're supposed to have a great show tonight. And I think we're gonna have a great show tonight, except my guest so far is MIA. So hopefully she'll show up soon while I kind of talk a little for a couple minutes about what our broadcast is supposed to be like today and upcoming shows that we've got. So Gratefully Living the Chronic Life is, like I said, a weekly broadcast. I run the group Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain on Facebook, which is a closed group. And it's a group for people who want to live better, more fulfilling, and memorable, happy, joyful lives while living with their struggles. We kind of look at life as this. We accept that we have pain, don't necessarily like it, but we do accept it. And then we work on the now what. We work on the now what's in our group. And we do a lot of that through, looking through the lens of gratitude. I hit a very bad rock bottom 8 years ago. I've been sick for over 20 years, and it got to the point where I just sort of gave up, and I was so frustrated with doctors and treatments and medicines and all of that. And I just kind of threw up my hands and said, okay, I sort of said, I don't care anymore. And I developed a bad alcohol problem that resulted in a bad rock bottom where I'm lucky to be alive, and I'm lucky that I didn't kill anybody. But it's not lost on me that I was given a second chance that day. And that day is the basis for all of my gratitude. I can look back on that day. I woke up in a hospital bed not knowing how I got there. And to this day, I still do not remember driving that day. It was a DUI. So I can look back on that day very clearly and know that anything, no matter how bad, is better than that day. And as long as I keep doing what I need to do, I don't ever have to go back there again. And we do that in the group and through this broadcast with talking about things like mindfulness, setting intentions, affirmations. We do a group question of the day, always stuff positive. We focus on what doesn't hurt versus what does hurt. Because we find that just complaining day in and day out, although venting is very important and healthy, and we need to do that, and we do offer that through our live chats twice a week, stewing in our misery brings us nothing other than misery, and tends to have us lose the people around us who are just kind of sick of hearing about it, to be honest with you. So that's what we work with here, is the now what's. So I hope that this is episode 41, by the way. We've had 40 other shows with amazing guests and topics, and we've got a few great ones coming up. I guess now is a good time to share that. Let me see. Let's see what we got here. Okay, well, let me take this banner down. All right. Next week, we have my personal friend and owner and artisan of Spataflora's Botanical Artistry, Nicole Spatafora. We've known each other for a million years. She's going to be coming on the show. I wanted to do a show because it's going to be April, which is Earth Day month. I wanted to do a show talking about how nature helps us with our overall wellness. So she's going to come on the show with me next week for an hour, and she's going to show us how to do a couple of easy things with, well, I won't give much away, but she's going to give a couple demonstrations and then talk about things like grounding with the earth, and we'll just have a conversation about nature with wellness. And she is the perfect expert to have on to talk about that. So I'm really looking forward to that. After that, we have, let's see here. Oh, the next week, April 8th, we have Christy Nelson from A Network for Grateful Living. She has a new book out called Wake Up Grateful, which I've talked about before. Where's that book? Here it is. Wake Up Grateful. If you want to get it ahead of time before she comes on and read it, it is such a great read. And I was fortunate enough today to attend the Network for Grateful Living offered a free mini retreat. And the topic was on savoring uncertainty. And wow, you know, I consider myself a student of the human experience, and I do so much studying on gratitude and wellness and how all of these things help us throughout our journey to live happier lives while living with our chronic illness and struggles. But this 90 minutes on savoring uncertainty was mind-blowing. So I'm hoping, I reached out to her today, and I'm hoping that the premise of our talk, we were going to talk about her book anyway. She has a chapter on the book on savoring uncertainty. I think all of us, whether you have a chronic condition or not, will benefit from this topic. So I hope she has such great insight, such a great way of looking at things, how we can find curiosity and wonder through ordinary things and try to stop controlling what's going to happen in the future. So she's coming up in 2 weeks from today. After that, we have on April 22nd, we have Anastasia Bean coming on. She's a licensed professional counselor and a complex pain recovery coach. We know each other. We serve on the board of trustees of Chronic Pain Anonymous together. She's a wonderful, wonderful coach, just has a great outlook on things. And we're going to talk about how to thrive living in a recovery mindset. We are going to talk about programs such as Chronic Pain Anonymous, but also other ideas that she has as well. She's got, we had a meeting last week, and she has such great things she wants to share with us. So I'm very fortunate that she'll be joining us. You'll really, really enjoy what she has to say. And then, of course, I've been promoting this for a while. Thursday, April 29th, we have Dan Millman, who wrote many, many books, the most famous being Way of the Peaceful Warrior. If you haven't read the book, I highly recommend. Let's see. Here it is, Way of the Peaceful Warrior. It's sold, I was going to say billions of copies. That might be an exaggeration, but millions of copies. It was made into a feature film, which you can rent on Amazon. I think they dropped the way of the, and the film is just called Peaceful Warrior, starring Nick Nolte. It's hard to describe what this book is. It's sort of spiritual. If you liked the book The Shack, you'll like this. It's not religious, but it is spiritual, and I highly recommend it. I use quotes of his all the time in the group. So really, and I just booked a guest today, but I'm not ready to announce who she is. And then I have another special guest coming on in 3 weeks, that's going to be a really special and fun episode. So we've got some great stuff going on. So I hope you can join us for that. last week's episode was on friendship, and it was in honor of my best friend, Amy Gray, who passed away a year ago last week. Thank you all for a great episode. Thanks. A special shout out to my BFF from high school, Tracy Berger, who called in and surprised me on that episode. It was a wonderful surprise, and you really just made my week. It was just awesome. So thank you, Tracy, for watching. All right, let me see if we have any comments here. Hang on a sec. I've got something covering up where it says if I have comments or not. Hang on. Oh, yes, we've got plenty. Let's see what we've got here. Who's here? Karen Hilliard's here. Hi, Karen. Facebook user. Sorry, I can't see your name. I know you can see your name, but on my dashboard, I can't. You have to, if you want your name to be shown, you can either just tell us, you can comment and say it was me, so-and-so. If you're fine with Facebook user, that's fine. Or you can log out and log back in and give StreamYard permission to use your name and likeness. You should only have to do it once. Should. Most people find that to be true. Heather Shauna Burke, hi from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Hi there, Heather. Thanks for joining us. Karen's in Southern California. Jill Cook's here. Howdy from Wisconsin. And Jill. Heidi Presser's here from New York State. My dad from Hazleton, Pennsylvania. Karen Grosboff. Hi, Lauren. Hey there, Karen. Glad you're here. Linda Edwards, moderator extraordinaire, is here from New Jersey. I don't know if this is the same Facebook user, but watching from Greenville, South Carolina. Awesome. Thanks for watching. Julia, watching from Vancouver. I don't think I knew you were from British Columbia, Julia. That's awesome. Campbell, my niece is here. Hi, Aunt Lauren. She's in New Jersey too. Hi, Campbell. Arlene's here. Hello. Welcome, Arlene. Frank Bienick. Hi from Lodi, New Jersey. We got a lot of New Jerseys here tonight. Glad you could be with us, Frank. My Aunt Betty from Rhode Island. Go Rhode Island. URI. I'm a graduate of URI. Hi, Aunt Betty. Thanks for tuning in. Diana's here. Hello. I'm late. Oops, that's okay. So is our guest. Karen says, watching from NE, New England. I'm guessing that's New England. No, or Nebraska. I bet it's Nebraska. I'll say Nebraska. Sherry Oliver's here. Hi there. My Aunt Maureen watching from Murrells Inlet, South Carolina. Even the name of that place sounds soothing. And Frank says he knows Hazleton. My parents just sort of, well, they've been retired for a while, but they just sold their home in New Jersey, and now they live there full time. So I know Hazleton pretty well too. And yes, Nebraska. Okay. Oop. Hang on, I got an email from our guest. Hang on. Oh, she wants to reschedule. Whoops. Okay. So we have an hour. We can talk about whatever we want. I suppose I should have a backup topic for this situation, but I don't. But let me tell you a couple things that I learned from this seminar I went to today on savoring uncertainty. And please, especially now, add in if you have any questions you want to ask me at all about the group, about the broadcast, about me personally, how I live my life. If you have tips for anybody else on how you best live your life, that would be great to hear too. Please feel free to tune in. Let me turn off this silly banner. How about we also ask, what are you grateful for today? I'd love to hear what people are grateful for today. Gratitude, as I mentioned already, is a huge part of my life. And when I started the group Attitude of Gratitude with chronic pain 6 years ago, I wanted it to be a place where people could go 24/7 that lived with chronic pain, illness, or depression, anxiety, things like that, where they could just get a quote here, a quote there, and be inspired, and not have to go. There's a million chronic pain groups out there, and they're all wonderful. I'm not knocking any of them. They're all very important. Every time I get a new illness, I pop onto a group to find out more about what it is and what the people that are living with the same thing and I have. So they're very useful. I'm not claiming that they're not. But I would find that a lot of times it was in the chronic pain groups, it was a lot of people trying to outpain each other. For example, I could say I have lupus and fibromyalgia, and then somebody else would weigh in and say, well, you're lucky you only have lupus and fibromyalgia, because I have lupus, fibromyalgia, and X, Y, and Z, which isn't exactly what you're looking for. Comparing our pain, there's a great quote, I think it was Teddy Roosevelt said it, comparison is the thief of joy. And it's so true. And that's why we don't discuss our specific conditions in Attitude of Gratitude with chronic pain, or I'll just call it AOG, a lot shorter. That's why we don't discuss it. We just kind of decide, we assume we're all in pain. We assume we're in the same amount of pain. And like I said earlier, we're just focused on the now what. Now, what can I do to make my life better? And we give lots of tips in the group on ways you can do that. And some work for people and some don't work, but it's up to you to decide what works and what doesn't. And the guests that I have on the show bring all sorts of new stuff to the table too. I'm very fortunate that we've had such great guests and good ones coming up as well. Let's see the comments we have. Oh, I'll tell you about the workshop in a minute. Suggestions for topics, anyone? Yeah, that's a good idea, Mom. Does anybody have a topic they want to talk about tonight? And I'm glad you learned stuff, Karen. Dad's great. My dad's grateful for a second COVID vaccine yesterday and no problems. I can finally see the end of the tunnel when I hug you again. Amen, Dad. Amen. I got my second one 2 weeks ago. I'm very grateful for that as well. It's nice to see them a little bit more readily available to people. When I got my first one, it was like getting concert tickets. It was worse. My first concert was Duran Duran in 1984. And getting those tickets was nearly impossible. Getting the vaccine was even more impossible, but I did. And I'm very grateful to have it. Lindsay, my niece. Hi, everyone. Fun fact, last Saturday, March 20th, was International Day of Happiness. Thank you, Lindsay. It certainly was. In my, you don't know this because you're not in the group, but in my group, each day we do our daily intentions, and I list each day what national days are in the group. So yes, it was International Day of Happiness, and I hope you were very happy, Lindsay. I sure was. Diana says, support is everything here. No competition, just gratitude. Totally agree. Totally agree. Support's really important. And that's something I was lacking prior to my second chance of life 8 years ago, was support. Not because it wasn't there. I had it. I've said this before. If you've watched previous episodes, my family, very supportive. And there are a million support groups out there that I could have taken advantage of if I wanted to. I didn't want to. And in the end, I was so isolated, and the alcohol had a lot to do with that. I used to be a really social person. I'm that social person again, but when I was drinking a lot and drowning my sorrows and drowning my pain, I just isolated from everybody. I wasn't returning text messages or phone calls. I didn't realize until I got to rehab. I went to a special chronic pain program, rehab in Connecticut, which I'm very grateful for. I didn't realize how important it was to talk to others who live with and understand what I was going through. Maybe not the same condition, because honestly, a lot of the times it doesn't matter, but we understand the emotional pain that comes from living with a chronic condition. And that is actually something that we have a little bit of control over. We can't control much of the physical aspect, but the emotional, we can control how we react to situations. So I always say that I don't ever say I suffer with chronic pain anymore, because I think suffering is a state of mind. There's a great quote that I'm sure you've probably all heard. It's pain times resistance equals suffering. Pain times resistance equals suffering. And that's what I was doing. I was resisting my pain. I had to come to a place of acceptance, and I have to renew that acceptance every single day. But coming to that place of acceptance and coming from that place of acceptance, then I'm able to move on. Then I'm able to say, okay, what can I do today? I can do a meditation. I can do some stretching. I can, go into live chat that we offer twice a week. I can go into the group and talk to others. Staying connected is a really big part of recovery, in my opinion, because it helps us to see that we're not alone. Feeling alone is debilitating. At least it was for me. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. If you isolated it at all, connection, I want to hear everything. We've got a great give and take episode going on here. And thank you for all staying with me, even though our guest is not coming. We will reschedule hopefully soon. I'm booked up through April, so hopefully May, and I apologize. It was very last minute. Sherry says, so thankful for my husband who does all the shopping, cooking, and nearly every day gives me a massage that helps reduce the pain. You are a blessed woman, Sherry. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Campbell says, way to work with it, Aunt Lauren. We are grateful for our wonderful family and this wonderful broadcast with a beautiful host. In our family, we started doing the one thing you did well today tradition at dinner. What is one thing you did well today, Aunt Lauren and everyone? That's a great question too. We ask that in the group. Also, Campbell, I'm sure you didn't know that either. We actually ask about an hour ago, around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I ask in the group, we say, what are 3 things you did well today? And it can be anything. It doesn't have to be anything big, because, what's small to some people might be really big, for us. I took a shower today. Raise the roof, right? I took a shower today. I worked on preparing for this episode. I worked on some graphics in the group. I did some yoga. I attended that mini retreat, which included meditation. So it was like learning and meditation in one. I've had a really good day. And I've I'm proud of how I've lived today. But there's some days where the pain, can be debilitating. And those are days where Netflix is my best friend. And even that is a big thing, because that's self-care. That's what we call in the group a reboot day. And sometimes we need multiple reboot days, and that there's nothing to be ashamed of with that at all. It is self-care. No pain, no gain does not apply to us. Working through the pain doesn't necessarily apply to what it is that we deal with. We need to allow time to rest our bodies. If our bodies are telling us to rest, we need to rest. Let's see, who am I missing here? Oops. My sister. I'd love to hear thoughts from you and others around one thing you did well today. Was just reading how, like gratitude, you want to push yourself to focus on recognizing when you do things well, as then it'll eventually become a habit. So curious what others think and what others did well today. So those of you in the group, if you've answered the question in the group already, you can maybe list one thing you did well today, or all 3. Yeah, I agree, Jumby. I call my sister Jumby. Her name's Kim. My little sister. I can call her whatever I want. But yes, I agree that that's something that people really enjoy in the group, is listing 3 things they did well. Sometimes it's as small as, like I said, taking a shower. that can be a huge deal for a lot of us. Making a phone call, returning a phone call, oh my gosh, that can be huge. So it doesn't have to be big, but they are victories. Each and every one of us has our own victories, and they're something to be celebrated for sure. Thanks, Jem. That was really great. Arlene, I'm grateful for new projects, starting a little free library in our neighborhood. This good distraction from my pain and keeps my mind and soul not only busy, but happy too. Arlene was telling me about this yesterday. I don't know, it's worldwide, and I've seen them all over where I've visited different cities and stuff. It's called the Little Free Library, and they're usually, I believe, and Arlene, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're usually wooden libraries that are put in a place where people walk by, or bus stops or things like that, and they're full of books that people no longer want, and you're free to take from them, and you're free to give to them. And I think I started seeing them a few years ago, and I thought they were just the most wonderful thing in the world. I remember seeing several in Boston when I visited with Amy a couple of years ago. I think it's a great idea. So Arlene and her husband are building one, and they're putting it close at the edge of their property. So I think that's a beautiful project for you guys to work together, and you're helping somebody else in the process. I'm a really big proponent of doing service work. And service can mean different things to different people. It can be, as small as wishing somebody well, giving somebody a nice compliment on Facebook, or building a little free library. But, all of that stuff, all of that volunteer stuff it's like a twofer. It helps you and it helps the other person too. So that's great, Arlene. Heather Shanna Burke says, my motto for years has been 1 day, 1 hour, 1 minute, 1 second at a time, whichever is manageable for you. I love that. Let me read that again. 1 day, 1 hour, 1 minute, 1 second at a time, whichever is manageable for you. Absolutely. Sometimes it does, depending on our pain or condition, sometimes it really does feel like an hour is eternity. So you take it a minute at a time, and then a second at a time. And if you stay mindful in those moments, and I'm going to give a plug here for mindfulness and meditation, because it's been a total game changer for me and how I live with my chronic illness. I don't know if many of you probably watched my interview with Vidyamala Birch back in January, I believe. She's a mindfulness expert, teaches guided meditations, and she is wheelchair bound. So, and she's very one of the top chronic pain experts in the UK. She joined us. We had to move the show a little bit earlier because of UK time, but she talked a lot about staying present in the moment and how important that is to our overall wellness. And I've really taken that to heart. I post in her group several times a week. I post her meditations, and then she offers a free live meditation every Tuesday on Zoom, which I've advertised in the group AOG. It's called Space to Breathe. And if you want to find out more about it, you can check in the group. If you're not a member of the group, you can go to the Facebook page Breathworks, one word, Breathworks, and you can get more information on it. But it's just a wonderful 30-minute live meditation, which I love. From Jumby/McKenna. Jumby and McKenna? McKenna and Alexander are here today too. All right, we got my sister's whole family here. Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm very blessed. My family is clearly very supportive. Sherry Oliver says, don't know if others struggle with this, but I cry so easily, either at loving kindness or someone's struggle or sorrow, but can't seem to control it. Not normal for me. Would like suggestions on how to gain control. It stresses my heart, chokes me up so I can't talk. It's embarrassing and frustrating. Oh, Sherry. I would go into my whole spiel, if you will, about I'm a sensitive person too, and I'm an empath, and I cry very easily. So I would go into my whole talk about how there's nothing to be ashamed of when you cry, because it shows how loving and caring you are, except for you saying it's not normal for you. And I wonder if you have any insight as to why that might be. I personally, when somebody cries in my presence, I feel an instant connection with them. I do, because they're showing me their feelings, they're showing me their loving kindness, and that they've got a heart that feels deeply, and I can relate to that. But if anybody wants to answer Sherry's question, if anybody's had, it sounds like sudden, uncontrollable crying, I'd love to hear it. I can't help you personally with that one. I'm an easy crier. Sometimes I do have a tough time controlling it because I can't stop thinking about it. But that's a good question, Sherry. I'm sorry that you're struggling with it. If it wasn't for your sentence, not normal for me, I would just talk to you about how beautiful it is to cry. But I'm sorry that you're embarrassed and frustrated. And if anybody has insight, I would love to hear it. You know, speaking of which, of being an empath and all that, I was going to post this in the group today. Back, I don't know, October or November, I interviewed on the show Judith Orloff, who is an empathy expert. She's absolutely wonderful. And she has several books out, but this one's Thriving as an Empath. And it's got daily readings in it for sensitive people. So each morning I take a phone picture and send it to the moderators of my group, who are all empaths. In fact, I've found that it seems like even at Flush the Format, our live chat and other things, it seems like a lot of people in our group are empaths and sensitive people, which I find very interesting. But anyway, the reading for today doesn't apply to crying necessarily, Sherry, but I wanted to share it in the group today, and I got busy and I forgot. So let me read this to you. It's March 25th's reading, The Joy of Being with Positive People. Positive people look at life as a glass that is half full, not half empty. They are authentic, caring, and willing to learn from their mistakes. They radiate a sense of warmth and lightheartedness that makes them a joy to be around. Positive people aren't phony or only concerned with themselves. They have empathy and tolerance and can accept you as you are. Of course, no one is perfect or positive all the time, but they try to lead a compassionate, optimistic life. Today, choose to spend at least a few hours with positive people who are energizing for you and whom you laugh around. Do not invite exchanges with anyone who makes you unhappy or drains you. Being mindful about those you spend your time with will increase your energy. And then she has an intention at the bottom, which is, I have a choice about my relationships. I will identify some positive people in my life and reach out to them. I will appreciate how valuable they are. And I know I keep giving it a plug, but that's where attitude of gratitude with chronic pain comes in for me, because everybody that joins wants to live a more positive life. So I know that the comments that are coming out of there are always going to be positive and inspiring and motivating. And I know they come from people who share some of the same, emotions that I have, or same conditions that I have, but yet they're able to say something positive. I mentioned earlier about, sitting in your own, stewing in your own misery and complaining nonstop, and how that sends people away. It really does. On the flip side, being positive brings people to you, whether you want them or not, but it does. When you meet or come in contact with somebody who's positive, don't you want to just be around them and talk to them longer? I sure do. I sure do. Life is hard, and this particular year has been incredibly difficult for everybody. So finding positivity through that darkness, finding that light, and finding people that carry that light through the darkness, is a beautiful thing, and makes me want to be around them and want to be their friend. I'm in my early 50s. I'm at the age where, not that I'm getting rid of friends, but I'm definitely narrowing down my inner circle to those who motivate me, inspire me, make me want to be a better person, and are positive. I can't, it's toxic for me and my health to be around people who are negative all the time. Thankfully, I don't come into contact with many. But yeah, so I loved that reading. I hope you guys do too. I'll share the book again. Thriving as an Empath. It's available on Amazon. You will love it. When she was on the show, I wasn't feeling very good that day, so I was a little bit of a mess, to be honest with you, but she was fabulous. So if you look back, I want to say it was October, November, you can look back on my past episodes on my YouTube channel, which is Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. Speaking of which, if you want to join our Facebook group and you're not a member, look at this cute little graphic. Here we are on Facebook, Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. I made that. I'm very proud of it. Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain on Facebook. And you can also find out more about me, my story, view my blog, and various other things on my personal website, which is gratitudeaddict.com. www. Does anybody say W anymore? I don't think so. Gratitudeaddict.com. You can visit, and it's got information about the group and past blog posts. I've been writing it for about 6 years or so. The broadcast here, it's got past broadcasts and all that. So you can go there and find out more. Let's see what Karen has to say. I'm grateful for waking up, walking, and for a great PT conference for my daughter. Looks like she will be in 4th grade this fall. Crazy to believe, LOL. I feel you, Karen. It goes fast. It goes really fast. My kids are now old. They're 23, almost 23 and 25. And I often feel like they are still 4. I don't know where the time went. And people would tell me that when they were growing up. And I was like, yeah, I didn't pay much attention. And now, not only do I not feel that I'm not 40 any longer, which I'm not, but my kids are adults and pursuing careers and finishing up college. And, I kind of wish that I had taken more time to savor that time, but I'm sure everybody says that. I feel like I savored that time, but now looking back, I really wish that I had, even more so. Thank you, Karen. Jill says, connecting with this group saves me from isolation I might otherwise slip into. I totally agree, Jill. Isolation can be really dangerous for those with physical pain, and usually that includes emotional pain as well. It's studies have shown that people with chronic physical pain almost all have, some kind of chronic emotional pain too, but also people with depression, anxiety, mental disorders, and, isolation can be very, very dangerous. It's also difficult on some days to want to be social, to want to talk to anybody. And I think that's okay for a day, 2 tops. But after that, I have to force myself to get myself out there because I know where I've come from and it's not a place I want to be any longer. Karen says she loves that question in the group. What things did I do good today? I'm glad you like that. I like that too. I got that from the book. It's called Option B by Sheryl Sandberg. It was put out probably a handful of years ago at this point. Sheryl Sandberg is the CEO of Facebook, and she lost her husband very suddenly. I want to say in his 30s. He was on a treadmill. So she talks about in this book about living option B, living that unplanned life, living that life that you didn't see coming, those blind turns that we are all used to. It's a great book. And she actually has on her website for, I think it's optionb.com, AOG is listed as a, what do you call it? It's like a, not certified, but a group that they approve that you can go to help with chronic pain. So I was pretty honored when that happened several years ago. Betty says, I'm so grateful for 3 days of warmer weather and no wind. Amen. Amen. Today was beautiful. Well, no, today wasn't beautiful. Yesterday and today were warm, but rainy here in New Jersey. But the previous like week and a half, I was getting sun. I was sitting on the deck and getting like 5-10 minutes of sun every day. And it felt glorious. And I need that vitamin D for sure. And doesn't it just put you in a good mood to see like the crocuses coming up and just the sun in New Jersey? At least our winters are just gray. They're just gray. You don't see the sun very often. Arlene says, I'm grateful for new projects. Oh, wait, I got that one already. Sorry, I must have missed some. Karen says, I got dressed today. Heather says, I bought myself roses. Oh, needed to do something special for myself, and roses do that for me. Big props to you. That's wonderful. What a great example that is. That's wonderful. Gosh, I've never bought myself flowers. Well, I bought flowers, but I wouldn't say I said, these are for you, Lauren. I should do that. That's a fabulous idea. I bet you feel like a rock star, and you deserve it. You absolutely deserve it. You're worth it. Thank you for that great idea, Heather. Arlene says you can go to littlefreelibrary.org to find out more about those little free libraries that she's building with her husband. Linda's here. Hi, Linda. One thing I did well today, I'm doing it now, listening to this broadcast. LOL. I'm so glad you got to meet your great-granddaughter yesterday after a long stretch. You made, I think it was yesterday, you posted it, possibly the day before. This wasn't in the group, so I'm not giving anything away from the closed group. I can't even imagine how you felt, Linda, but the look on your face says it all. I'm so, so happy for you that you got to meet her. And I can't believe you have a great-granddaughter either, but that's besides the point. Heather says, thanks. Karen says the meditations have been wonderful for you. That's great. I'm so glad to hear it. It's not easy. I like to put meditations in the group too that are only 2 to 3 minutes long sometimes, because I want to show that all you need is a couple minutes of deep breathing just to kind of reset yourself, because you find that, and you will, your shoulders are shrugged, your jaw is clenched, you're tensed up. If you take time to just unshrug your shoulders, unclench your jaw, breathe deeply for a couple minutes, maybe put your hand on your heart, gosh, you wouldn't believe what that does for you. If you start there, you will be surprised at how great you feel. Once a day, if you can do it a couple times a day, that's great. And then I post Vidyamala's meditations in the group, where hers don't normally exceed 10 minutes. So those of you that want a little bit more, 10 minutes I feel is a good time, where it's not too long for people. But for some people it is long. It does take practice, meditation, but it is oh so worth it, my friends. I guarantee you that. Arlene says, connection is the food of my spirit, and service is just as much for me as for those I serve. AOG has given me so much, and being a moderator on AOG has connected me with so many souls too. Wonderful. Wonderful. Arlene, we're lucky to have you. That is for sure. Frank says, I saw small painted rocks with an inspirational word on them under a tree in a park while on vacation last summer in Vermont. One could take a rock to keep to remind them of that inspirational or motivational word. Frank, I am so glad you brought that up. Those are called kindness rocks. And I think if you go to kindnessrocks.org, it's a website that a woman started many years ago, and it became a movement. I know my friend Amy used to do them with her granddaughter, and a lot of people do them. They paint these rocks with words on them like gratitude, kindness, hope, things like that. And they put them in various areas for people to find. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I'm so glad you found some. I bet that made your day. You know, it's funny. and cool how little things like that, like a rock with gratitude painted on it, and finding that can just change the entire outlook of your day. It's little things like that that we can do for each other. It's fabulous for us to make something like that. It makes us feel good, and we know it makes that other person feel good, which makes us feel even better. So thank you, Frank. I've never talked about kindness rocks on the show before, and I completely forgot about those. Thank you. Here's my sister. As a psychologist, I was trained that if you bite your tongue, it can keep you from crying. Not sure if it works for everyone, but it's worth a shot. Sherry, that's for you. Thank you, Jumby. I never would have thought of that. I bet it does, because I bet it hurts. Thanks, Jumby. I keep trying to get her on the show. I think she'd be a great guest. My sister is a clinical psychologist. So bite your tongue to keep from crying, and hopefully that works for you. And here's more from Heather. Sherry, crying is a normal reaction to kindness in either your struggle or someone else's struggle. Give yourself permission to do so. It will actually lessen your physical pain. Speak with those who get it. I agree. I totally agree. I'm going to go down to this one. Sherry says, I guess the crying is normal, but not the being overcome by it. Jumby, if you have tips for that, it would be appreciated. So Sherry, to understand that this is something relatively new for you, that when you've cried in the past, you haven't been as overcome by it. Have you had maybe a change in medication or a change in life circumstances, change in your condition? I don't know. I'm just tossing around ideas. I am not a psychologist. I just play one on TV. I am a student of the human experience, and I am a lifelong learner of living with chronic illness and how to make our lives better. And Sherry says, yes, I am an empath too. Right, so that understands the crying. So you're not new to crying. It's just a recent change in the being overcome by it, it sounds, which is, yeah, I'm sorry you're troubled by that. You could give in to it, but I guess that would depend on how overcome you are by it, and whether or not that's healthy for you. Crying is a healthy response for sure. But, I would speak to somebody, and I'm curious to hear what my sister has to say about that. But maybe you do want to bring that up with an expert and find out why. Julia says, I'm grateful I will possibly get today's guest's new creative gratitude book before she comes to your next live. So let me put that up. The guest I was going to have on today, her name is Amy Ostreicher, and her book, let me take down the comment here. Her book that is coming out next week is Creativity and Gratitude. You can pre-order it now on Amazon. It is available to ship on April 6th. So I'm really excited for her to be on the show in the future. I was excited for her to be on tonight, but things happen. Maybe, she's not feeling well. She has health issues of her own, which is part of her amazing story. She also has another book out, which I will be honest, I have not read the entire thing because it's a doozy, pretty thick. It's called My Beautiful Detour. And in a nutshell, her story is she was a high school senior, ready to go to college for musical theater. And she started having stomach pain, woke up in the hospital having found out that her stomach exploded. She no longer had a stomach, and doctors told her she could probably no longer ever eat or drink. She was in the hospital for, I want to say, a year, and had 23 surgeries. And we're talking 18 years old here. It would be awful for anybody, never mind an 18-year-old. So she talks about it and how she uses creativity and gratitude as her beautiful detour, her way of being resilient through the circumstances of her life. She's done several TED Talks. If you want to, I think I made a banner up here. Her website, if you want to check her out. She's got a doozy of a last name. So her website is just amyoes.com. And you can find her TED Talks on there. You can find out more information about her speaking engagements, her upcoming books and all that. She's really an interesting person. I hope we can have her on in the future. But thank you. Julie is the one that actually turned me on to her. We have a sister group in AOG called the Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain Journaling Club. And she posted a link to this upcoming book in there, which I'd never heard of Amy Ostreicher and never heard of the book or her previous one. So I checked her out and realized that she was perfect for the message that I like to send out weekly. So I did what I do best, as I stalked her, and she kindly agreed to be on the show with us. So we will most certainly, as long as we can work something out, have her on in the future. Thank you, Julia, for the heads up on this wonderful resource in Amy. Heather says, Karen, most of us have been raised to bottle our emotions, to never cry in public. Like, why not? Especially when grieving any kind of loss, whether it be a person, pet, health status, etc. It's strange because anger seems to be more acceptable. When I'm angry, my pain increases. So I say cry, get release and relief. I'm assuming you mean that for Sherry, unless I missed a comment from Karen. I'm thinking that Sherry is hip to all of this. I think if I'm hearing her correctly, her concern is the change in her response to it is troubling her, and it's very much all of a sudden. But I totally agree with what everybody's saying. I can't stand one of my pet peeves. I shouldn't say I can't stand it, but something that hurts my heart is when somebody starts crying anywhere and they say, I'm sorry. And if they have to compose themselves, I'm totally okay with that. It hurts my heart when they say I'm sorry, because I feel there's nothing to be sorry about. In fact, I feel that it shows your inner beauty, very much so. And like I already mentioned, I feel a connection with that person because they wear their heart on their sleeve. Crying shows that you care. And isn't that a wonderful thing in this world, to care and find others who care? It is. I think so. I find kindred spirits in people who cry. Arlene says, change in any circumstances can shift your whole world. I believe crying easily was one of those shifts that happened to me too. Interesting. What I do accept that my body needs to express something, and the way it is expressing is through tears. When this happens to me, I think about each tear and counting them in my head. This makes me feel like I can control something when the crying overwhelms me. Arlene, that is wonderful, wonderful insight, personal experience for me. Thank you. Sherry, I hope that helps you. I really appreciate everybody's comments for Sherry and trying to help her. It's one thing I love about my viewers and the members of our group is we all try to help each other. Let's see, where did I leave off? Oh my, there's my alarm saying we're almost at the hour. Now, who knew if I had to wing an episode, I could do an hour? I kind of knew. Let me try to get to everybody else's comments. Let's see. Oh, my dad. I think everyone would agree that we are grateful for a fabulous guest speaker tonight. You. Thank you, Dad. I love you. Grateful I found a wonderful affirmations podcast this week. Wonderful. Julie, if you'd like to post the link to that, or at least the name of it, to share with everyone, that would be great. Let me see. Who am I missing here? I saw a comment from Sherry. Let me go up. You'd think I could just scroll and it would be in order, but I seem to miss a lot. Oh, Linda says, I love the book and love that you share with us each morning. I'm so glad, Linda. It really is like every day. She's talking about this book, which I read from. Each day's reading is better than the next. I kid you not. It's all about mind, body, spirit. It's impossible to disconnect. For sure. Linda says, I'm grateful for you and all you do to help us to thrive. Thank you. I don't help you to thrive. You guys help yourselves to thrive. I just find different ideas that I've come across in my research and from my own personal experience, and I present them. But you guys have to be open and willing to do them. So if you're thriving, and I know you are, Linda, that's all you. So don't discredit yourself. But thank you for your kind words. It's all you. I saw something from Sherry about. Okay, here it is. The change is that being homebound and COVID restrictions, loneliness. Why didn't I think of that? COVID would probably do it, wouldn't it? Not having COVID, but that would too. But I bet that is it, Sherry. I bet you're right. I wonder if many of us are crying a little bit more these days. My personal life didn't change a lot from being homebound because a lot of the time I kind of was anyway, and I work from my computer. So it wasn't drastically affecting me the way it did with a lot of people. But still, just hearing all of the deaths, 500,000 deaths in the United States, hearing elderly having trouble getting the vaccine, having trouble getting the vaccine if you choose to get it. There's a lot to cry about. It's been a very emotional year in a lot of ways. So yeah, Sherry, I bet you're right about that. I'm missing some that I want to get to before I signed off. So Arlene says the connection is did I read this already? Connection is the food of my spirit, and service is just as much for me as for those I serve. Yeah, I did, but it was worth reading again. Thanks, Arlene. Okay. Read that already. I'm grateful that I continue to do mindful hand drumming. It usually reduces my stress and pain. I have not heard of this. I've heard of tapping. I have not heard of hand drumming, and I'm going to write that down and research it. I'd love to hear more from you, Heather. If you have a website we can go to, or if you want to private message me, I'd love to hear more about hand drumming. Again, it's one of those resources that maybe it works for some and not for others, but I like to hear everything that helps us to live our best lives. And we can live our best lives. It's not when we're diagnosed with a chronic illness, it's not a death sentence for our life. We can choose to live better lives, and how we choose to do that is up to us. And I would venture to guess, if you're watching my show, that you're wanting to live a better life. And I commend you all for that, because it is not easy at all. Sherry says, I finished making a journal for my sister-in-law, who teaches a whole classroom of autistic spectrum first and second graders. That is so beautiful. Wow, your sister's a really special person. What a beautiful gift that is. I bet she will cherish it. Karen says she's a rock painter. That's great. And she loves leaving them around town. And Sherry says, thanks, Kimberly. Thanks, Heather. Sherry, it sounds like you're overwhelmed. I am too. When I let myself cry, I have more room inside for good things. I agree with Lauren. You might want to speak with a health professional. And Betty, who is a nurse. She says there are some diseases that actually make a person more emotionally liable. I agree with Lauren that wouldn't make me more likely to bond with them. I agree. Thanks, Aunt Betty. Helpful coming from you. All right, couple more comments. Oh, Sherry, my psychologist has no help for it. Yikes. I don't like hearing that. I'm so glad you brought that up with us here tonight. I would love if you came to our Flush the Format live chats we offer on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Perhaps you can bring it up there too, and we can have a roundtable discussion on it. Maybe you need, I hate to say it, but maybe you need a new psychologist that doesn't, if she doesn't have a help for it. That doesn't sound too good at all. And I'm sorry. Carrots, it's been a great hour. Thank you. Thanks, Lauren. I think you did fantastic. Thank you. And Julia has left the podcast link for us up, affirmationpod.com. I want to thank you all oh, wait. One more. Heather says, I've not had human touch since COVID began. It feels awful, but I'm grateful to have my bunny. Human touch. That could be another thing too. Lack of human touch, lack of our hugs, which are so healing. I don't know about your situation, Sherry, but it's enough to make us want to cry more for sure. And Sherry says the comments from folks here have been helpful. I am so, so glad. Thank you all for contributing to this hour. It's been a fantastic hour, and who knew I didn't have to plan a topic. It was all your hour, and the show is for you. So I hope you got something out of it. From what I can tell, people that logged in, I can't see who logs in, but I can tell that people who logged in from the beginning stayed, which is kind of amazing. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, if you want to join the group, here's my cute little graphic, Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. It's on Facebook. And you can also go to my website, which is gratitudeaddict.com. And thank you all so, so much for being here. I've had a lot of fun. I hope you have too. Have a great week. Next week, we will have my friend Nicole Spatafor. We're talking about dirt therapy in preparation for Earth Day. We're going to talk all about nature, getting our hands dirty. She's going to give us new, simple, easy techniques for us all to be in touch with nature, as well as talking about grounding, having your bare feet on the land, which is super, super interesting. So I hope you all join us. And that is it for me. Thanks again, everybody. And I will see you next week. Peace and love, gang. Bye.